Good morning, my dear students. Welcome back to your science class. We are having the discussion on the chapter crop production and management. And with all the previous classes, videos and the live classes, we have already talked about the definition of crops, different types of crops, how to select the seeds and how to prepare the soil before the sowing seeds. And in the previous class and previous video, we have already discussed about how to provide the proper nutrition to fulfill the maximum growth and development of the plant. Because we already know that agricultural practices or agriculture is totally a commercial thing in case of the country, or you can say in case of the socio-economic status of a country. So that we have to grow the plants and the crops actually to its ultimate size and with a good quantity and quality. And our primary concern is the quantity to feed each and every people and to fulfill the requirement of the whole country. And the secondary concern is of course the quality. So quantity and quality both are our important targets to yield a good crop in the field. That's why we are now requiring lots of things, practices and lots of techniques to improve the quality and quantity as well the shape and size of the crop. So in the previous class we have talked about different types of manures and fertilizers. Manures are those kind of nutrients which are actually natural in origin, whereas the fertilizers are chemicals which are not so cheap, which are expensive than the manures and which actually responsible for the maximum growth and development of the crops. But manures are very cheap, very easily available, like cow dungs, like you can use the broken eggshells, or you can use the rotten vegetable peels, etc. So these are very natural as well as very cheap. But fertilizers are expensive for the farmers, and the farmers has to actually purchase the different kinds of fertilizers from the market, and that's why those are kind of hectic. But to maintain the to achieve the target, that is the quantity, that is our main target in case of agriculture. Farmers need to purchase those fertilizers, and they are actually bound to provide those fertilizers to the field. So that's all for manures and fertilizers. We have already discussed the advantages and disadvantages. Now quickly get started for today's topic, that is actually today's topic is mainly the irrigation system, and as well as some very important short topics are also involved, like crop rotation, mixed cropping and field fallow. So let's get quickly started today's class. Let's begin with some natural methods to maintain our soil fertility. The first one, which is field fallow. One method of allowing land to naturally regaining the nutrients is to leave it free or fallow for one or more seasons. The dead plants, animals and other organic matter that get collected on the field are decomposed by microorganisms. Therefore, the nutrients are returned to the soil, and this is known as field fallow. And what are the advantages? Land use efficiency is high. Farmer can earn extra income. Low requirement of irrigation. It can prevent the soil erosion of paddy land during the fallow period. So this is a good initiative to maintain the soil fertility. And now the next topics, that is mixed cropping. The practice of growing two or more crops simultaneously on the same piece of field is known as mixed cropping. It is an age-old practice in our country. Farmers mix the seeds of two crops and sow them in the field. The crops are chosen in such a way that the products and waste materials from one crop help in the growth of the another crop. For example, if a cereal crop such as wheat is grown along with a leguminous crop such as pulse, then the uptake of nitrogen from the soil by cereal is compensated by the addition of nitrogen in the soil. Now the topic is crop rotation. Wheat crop is planted during the month of November and harvested in March and April. Rice crop is planted in June, July and harvested in October, November. Now in between these two seasons, the land lies empty. Instead of leaving it as it is, the farmers plant a pulse crop during this time. So, by the time the farmer has to plant the cereal crops, the pulse is ready to be harvested. The process of growing a crop in between two similar crops is called crop rotation. This method maintains soil fertility. Now let's talk about irrigation. Irrigation is the supply of water to agricultural field at different intervals. Sufficient supply of rainwater is not always present. Therefore, it is required by the farmers to supply water to the fields. Some crops require more amount of water like paddy plants and some require lesser amount of water like wheat. Sometimes the requirement of water depends upon the type of soil used for growing crops. So what is the importance of irrigation? It is necessary to provide moisture for the germination of the seeds, as seeds do not grow in the dry soil. Irrigation protects the crop plants from frost and hot air currents. And irrigation helps in the absorption of nutrients by the plants from the soil. So irrigation depends on types of crop, types of soil and the seasons. So what are the sources of irrigation? Each crop needs specific quantity of water at various stages of growth. So the sources are like tube wells, ponds, lakes, rivers, etc. Now what are the different methods of irrigation? The various traditional methods of drawing water out from wells, lakes and canals were traditional, and human labor is used in these methods. These methods are cheaper but less efficient. Like pumps. Pumps are very commonly used for lifting water. The most important modern methods of irrigation is sprinkler system. This method is useful on sandy soil and uneven land, where the soil cannot retain water for long or where the sufficient water is not available. Rotating nozzles are attached to perpendicular pipes which is attached to main pipeline at regular intervals. It is used for lawns, coffee plantation and several other crops, and this is a very time-saving method for irrigation. Then what is drip irrigation system? This system involves providing water drop by drop at the roots of the plant. Thus water is not wasted. This system is practiced in regions where water availability is less. However, this method is very expensive. It is the best technique for watering fruit plants, gardens and different trees. So students, these are some natural methods to maintain the soil fertility. So that's all for today, and in the next class we will talk about the remaining portion of the chapter, crop production and management. Thank you.